Okay, welcome back. Again, for the whatever time I got left, if you want to help out, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It does not cost you a thing, but it actually might help my word get out. I've got, I don't know how much time I got left. I'm going to make advantage of what it is. Pretty sure I was poisoned or drugged for being a whistleblower at General Motors. And I had a family member take me in, and that family member was just diagnosed with inoperable pancreatic cancer. And and I don't know how much I'm going to be due, because if she comes back even on hospice, I might be busy helping her out. But I'm going to do what I can, because I am pretty sure that when she's gone, I'm going to be homeless or something else. Uh, and I'm not asking for anything, because there's frankly uh, there is nothing anybody can do that's going to be enough to help out. Uh, it is what it is. I don't really, with my health, I don't even think it's worth it. Uh, but I am trying to get this out. So again, if you can like it, if you can hit that subscribe button, because if this channel, even after I'm homeless, even after I'm gone, if this channel can get enough uh, interest in it, maybe it would force people to quit buying General Motors vehicles until they want to address the environment that they had that led to people thinking it was okay to, as far as I can tell, maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, I've got videos out on this on the channel. If you're interested, go check them out. People thought it was okay to do what they did because I didn't want to see the scandals go on. I didn't want to see us following our quality policy when we were getting audited for our ISO certification, and then going back to doing business as usual the day after these inspectors would leave. And for some reason, there were people down there that thought, whatever they didn't like that I was doing, the fact that I was trying to get girls that, were appeared to be trading some ass for better work environment. I didn't think that was right. I thought seniority was more important than people in the union and people in management getting laid. I really did. And that, they can boil it up, they can say what they want, but at the heart of it is we had a contract. We should have been following that contract. And the fact that it really appeared like they were, and maybe they were doing favors for their kids, I don't know, but a lot of it looked like, there was some, oh, well, I'll give you this good job, and what are you going to do for me lately? And some of that, there was a group leader, she got transferred. It looked like an assistant plant manager got shoved out the back door in the middle of the night. But for the most part, nobody got fired. And when my health was getting really bad, I think they were trying to start it up again, because there was some girl that was just getting put into a fucking team leader job. She didn't have the seniority to get. And I asked everybody in the union, and you can't even blame this on management. I asked everybody in the union, like, hey, what's going on? I'm hearing that this is going to happen. They're like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I wrote the CEO of the company, and I wrote I emailed the CEO of the company, and I emailed somebody at the international union or the regional union. And I'm like, hey, it looks like somebody's giving their girlfriend a fucking team leader job. They're not posting it like they're supposed to. And I told him, I go, hey, like when my job got eliminated, and other people's job got eliminated because you were expanding the door line from 4 teams to 10, that made sense where you had all these team leaders who were getting displaced. Yeah, we got the pick from the new teams. That made sense. But I go, this girl was never a team leader. And it looks like somebody's just putting her in a job that she can't get. Well, the next thing I knew, and I think his name was Steve Turner, if I remember it right. I got some memory issues from my health, so take it with a grain of salt. And the other guy was Mike Reed. He was originally from Ohio, and he ended up in Indiana. But he was the one that was right in there with Ralphie on the when I was on the door line. But Turner, this was over when I was in the quality department doing the engine checks, the startup test, and it wasn't DVT. I think it was SVT, but it was all these checks we did in quality. Well, he came out all pissed off and said, he goes, yeah, I might not be able to help you. I'm busy posting all these jobs. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking, wait a minute. You were one of the ones telling me the other day you didn't have a fucking clue what I was talking about. And I go, now you're mad and you're acting like I'm not going to get representation because you got to do your fucking job. And but there was a lot of that shit going on, and uh, a lot of these people probably need to be fired. Some of them, if and again, I don't think you'll be able to get them in jail because I told what I knew to the FBI and nothing came out of it. But some of these people morally belong in jail. Some of them belong fired, and some of the ones that I think slipped out the back door and retired because they had nice cushy jobs. These are jobs you don't retire from. Well, right around the time they were getting rid of that assistant plant manager, a lot of these guys retired. Well, I'd like to see them lose their fucking pension. I really would. And maybe if enough attention gets on GM, and I'll probably be already gone by then or homeless beyond redemption. But maybe they force GM to put a stop to this shit. And that would be nice. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. This is part two. And I went through the different levels of the argument. And I want to talk about other little tricks that and again, Republicans are not the only one that does it. You may even, like, if you follow my videos, you might even catch times where I'm screwing up. I am not a professional. I'm not a professional lawyer. I'm not a professional anything. Like before I got injured, I always referred to myself in circumstances as a useful pain in the ass. And since they ruined my health, I'm more or less just a pain in the ass. I'm not that useful anymore. Well, anyways, uh, when you look at this, there's other little tricks they do, and there's three things that I've noticed. One is they just flat out lie. They just flat out lie. And you can go back and look at the Reagan administration. They basically said trees cause pollution. That's a flat out lie. Richard Nixon said he was not a crook. That was a flat out lie. So that, and Donald Trump, this is a guy that, you know, took the little Sharpie and drew the little thing on the map about how, the storm was going to hit Alabama or what. That was a flat out lie. And I think everybody knows what that is. And so, we don't have to spend a lot of time on that. The next thing that we can talk about is the times where they have the lies of omission. When George W. Bush gave I can't remember, it was like the 16 words in that State of the Union speech, the ones where he said, well, British intelligence believes. See, that was a lie of omission. Maybe. I might have this one confused, but that would be like a lie of omission because he was telling us that, but he knew. He absolutely knew that it was not true because we'd already debunked it. You know, um, that was a lie of omission because we already knew it was bullshit. Okay. Now you take General Powell, Secretary Powell, when he went and held that little vial up, and he was because it was that went through. It was the yellow cake uranium. When he went there, I don't think he knew he was lying. I think he thought he was tied. I think he was a good guy. I really firmly believe that. I don't know if I'd ever voted him, but I really do think he was a decent guy. I don't think he would go there and lie. I think he was used. But somebody omitted the truth. Somebody gave him that vial and said, "Yeah, go out there and and scare everybody." That's the lie. I mean, again, this is kind of a nitpicky thing, but it's like that would because somebody omitted the truth from that and sent him out to do it. But I don't. I think he was being used on people. Some people might not remember him. I'm a little older. This is Scott Ritter. He was one of the original. He was originally on one of those weapon inspection teams. I don't know if they worked for the UN or not, but they kind of turned him into a hero during the first Gulf War. This is back when Reagan, while Bush was president by then. And he's one of the guys that went around and inspected different sites to see if they had, weapons of mass destruction. And This was a guy that came forward when the lead up to the war came out. Uh, he came out and he's like, well, yeah, those chemical labs, they're not chemical labs. They're used for artillery because his expertise was weapon systems. That's why he was on the team. And he said, yeah, those are, I'm pretty sure those are for artillery use. You can make balloons with them. You can let the balloons in the air and it gives you an estimate of the weather, the wind. Because he said, if you're going to hit anything accurate, like a couple miles away, 30, 40, 50 miles away, you need to know where the wind's blowing so you can better aim your shells. And then he was another one that came out when they were talking about the aluminum rods they found that Saddam Hussein had. Again, he knew from his weapons expertise that those weapons they were the right size for artillery shells. That's what they were likely used for. And he also knew, even though he was not a nuclear or a biological expert, he also knew that from rubbing elbows with the nuclear experts, they were not big enough. They were not big enough in diameter to be used for centrifuges. So they weren't really useful for nukes. So it narrowed it down to where, yeah, these are for artillery more than likely. And so you had that, but that he was covering that. He came out. Well, then they attacked him. They went after his character. They tried to assassinate his character. They tried to ruin his future, which is a little hard to do after you spent like a decade building him up. But as soon as he told the truth on their lies, they trashed him. And the last one, I don't know if I have a good example because these are, I don't with the health issues I got. I'm just this today's not a great day. I think I'm good enough to make the video, but my mind, I just to recall stuff, it's not good. But I don't know if I have a real good example of this, but I think you'll get the point. And they're hard to detect. These are hard to see, especially if it's something where you're trying to learn. If you're watching the news and you're trying to learn something, these are the easiest ones to get tripped up on, where you are told the truth, but it doesn't have anything to do with the argument. Because what will happen is if you're someone that is like me, you watch the news, you try to learn, where you're listening to this stuff, you are expecting these guys to do their due diligence, to do the research, and to present you with facts. When you call yourself news, that should be a given. But like Fox News and a lot of the sources on the right and some of the ones on the far left, they don't understand that when they are there to present the news, they shouldn't be, or if they are giving their opinions, they should be very clear it's their opinion. They shouldn't be presenting it as fact. And like Alex Jones here, this was something that was brought up in his trial where he was found guilty and he was ordered to pay like $50 million in damages. The judge scolded him. She said, look, this is a court of law. You are expected to, because I think after his fucking crack team of lawyers, yeah, snorting crack, after they sent the contents of his phone to the opposing lawyers, it came out that he lied a couple times in court. One of the lawyers from the other side, they go, you do understand what perjury is, right? Lying in court. It was a civil case, so he doesn't have a prosecutor, but it was the opposing counsel. And the judge even got in. She said, look, when you're in my courtroom, when you're in any courtroom, you are expected to tell the truth. This is not your radio show. This is not your podcast where you can lie. And he's like, well, I believe it was true. She goes, yes, I get that. You believe it true. But she goes, you say it, you believe it. But she goes, that does not make it true. She goes, that will not save you from a perjury charge. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but she kind of went off on him a little bit. But when you have these people, if they know enough about the subject, and if they either know it or if they got people that have done the research, you can tell them things that are true. If they don't know the subject very well, it isn't a Dunning-Kruger thing, although that can be a part of it too. But if they're not an expert on that field, and you tell them something that's absolutely true but doesn't have anything to do with the issue, well, they might go look it up and they'll be like, oh, wow, that's true. Yes. Like And I always like to have stuff like this at hand. Like there's a little factoid. My understanding is this is true that a pig's orgasm is about 30 minutes long, and they also have like a penis that's shaped like a corkscrew. But like if you throw that out there, if somebody goes and looks it up, they'll, to the best of my knowledge, I'm going from memory here, they'll find that yeah, that's about true. The average penis or the average orgasm length for a pig is about 30 minutes. But it might not have anything to do with the price of tea in China. But you know that. But they'll go, oh wow, man, he really must know what he's talking about. I looked that up, and it's true. And I guess the best example I have this would be during the second Bush administration, because like Trump didn't do a lot of these. He did not do a lot of these where, well, yeah, what I'm telling you really isn't true, but you know this is true, but it doesn't. He lied almost all the time. You know, he basically there was when I worked security, we heard this story. I wasn't there for this, but one of the guys he was working over at the will call area where you pick up your tickets, and there was some mouthy bitch who just said, "Let's rush them. They can't stop all of us." Because they either didn't have their tickets or they were waiting to get their tickets, and they thought, well, you know, we're missing the concert. They were too lazy to get the tickets ahead of time, and they thought, well, we'll just run them over and we'll get into the concert. Well, a lot of the other security guards, I guess, put their arms out like a human barricade. And he's like, fuck that. They're going to get trampled. He put his elbows out. He crossed his arms, stuck his elbows out. Well, that chick was right in front of him and she got crushed into him by the crowd. So kind of, you know, poetic justice. But, you know, but like the idea was to, you know, like with the Trump and at least that's what it seemed like, was to bum rush the facts. You know, they just put so many fucking lies out there that, you know, sooner or later, some of them are going to get out just from attrition. And that might have been something they picked up from Donald Rumsfeld. I don't know, but he wasn't even that brazen. This was a whole new level of fucking duplicity when the Trump administration got in there. But like, you go back to the Bush administration, I cannot think of the guy's name. He had a show on CNBC, and if I'm not mistaken, he was some kind of a financial or economic advisor to the Trump administration. But uh, he would come out on his show, which I didn't watch, but they would bring him on other shows because some of these shows you had people that were not, they, you know, they were the host of the show. They knew something about it, but they were not cited as a economic expert or a market expert like he was. And he would come out, and this was as the Bush administration, the Republican death spiral of the economy that happened under Bush the second. Uh, he would come out and he would present these arguments. Well, yeah, you know, this metric is saying this, so that means we got a good economy, and blah 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 blah. And there were people that were interviewing. Again, they were not the expert he was supposed to be, and they'd be like, "Well, I've never seen that data being used for the economy." And then they finally, some of the shows quit bringing him on because they didn't find him very credible. And I know, like in the morning, and I don't know if it was Morning Joe or not, but they brought in a different economic expert from CNBC, younger guy, and I've seen him since. And they brought him on, and they asked him, they go, well, why does he keep using these men? I think the guy's name was Kudlow, but I'm not entirely sure. And he goes, well, those are like lagging indicators. He goes, they're never used because they're lagging indicators. And they go, what do you mean? He goes, well, he goes, by the time you see that metric going bad, he goes, we're already going to have a bad economy. He goes, generally they use leading indicators so that when these indicators start to go bad, you have time to course correct and maybe prevent it or minimize it. But at the point we were at in the economy, they weren't using the leading indicators anymore because they were all bad. They weren't using any of the present indicators because they were already bad. He was looking for every fucking indicator he could that was still good. And he'd be like, you know, hey, the economy's still good. No need to panic, blah, blah, blah. And when people started losing their house, and again, this should be out there somewhere. You don't have to take my word for it. I think the guy's name was Kudlow. And when you couldn't deny it anymore, then his comment was, oh, well, recessions are part of an economy. And so it really came off to me like that was a plan of his. We will, we will do this. We will lie. We will blow smoke for the administration. And then when things go tits up, well, we'll just, he's, oh, well, recessions are part of the economy. Well, that's not what you were saying for the last 6 to 8 months. And I don't know why they kept him on. That should have been like grounds for dismissal for being either incompetent or, you know, duplicitous with your job. And then the other guy that was on there, he was an older guy, a little bit heavy set, and I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know if COVID took him or other illness, but this was a guy that would come out in the morning, and I think he was usually on CNBC. But he'd come out, that's what he did. He was kind of like the Tim Russert of the economy back then. And they would bring him out, and they brought him out the one day, and he just basically gave a real bleak outlook of the economy. I mean, just a really, really bleak outlook. And they kind of said, well, man, you always come out doom and gloom. They kind of jokingly, they meant it jokingly. Well, he flipped out and he threw a stack of papers either on his desk or at him. He goes, you look through that. He goes, that's my briefing. That's the briefing I go through every day. That's the stuff they give me. He goes, you go through there and you find something good, because he goes, I can't find it. But he kind of blew up. And they start, he goes, no. He goes, no. He goes, I come out here. I'm out here. I'm supposed to go over that and come out and tell you guys the truth. And he goes, you guys need to understand this economy is not good. You look through there. You show me where I'm wrong. And then the guy kind of like, oh, it's like, well, hey, people come to you for the news. People absolutely come to you for the news. They, if they want to be entertained, they should go to Fox News. That's what they do. But like, they come to you for the news. You should be honest with them. You shouldn't try and sugarcoat it. Yeah, you can make it entertaining. You try and make it like pleasant to watch. But what they wanted to do is put on a fucking clown suit and come out and entertain everybody and probably be like the other guy and tell them, oh, it's not that bad and blah, blah. And he was trying to warn people, it is that bad. And, so that's probably the best example of a lie. He would come, or not a lie, but stuff that's true, but it just doesn't have anything to do with the argument. And so if you can recognize these arguments, it might help you out in the future. Peace out, and everybody have a good day.